Nestled at the foot of the Rock and Pillar Ranges, on Patearoa Station, a site protected by Kiwi2 Covenant is one of the best places to glimpse the extraordinary plant biodiversity of the Upper Taieri Scroll Plain.
This is the Patearoa Saline site, which is a natural site where natural erosion has put a whole lot of clay down the slopes and onto the flats, the river flats. Any rain that comes in has a little bit of salt spray in it. It lands on the clay and it evaporates because it's quite dry here. So as a result of that, you get the salt precipitated out of the drying rain. The salt line is the boundary between the clay that we're standing on now and the top of the hill, which is ordinary schist that's got fractures in it, and the water just sinks straight down into the groundwater. Goes right around the hillside. So around here, below the salt line, the water stays at the surface and evaporates. So we've got completely different plant communities above the salt line versus below the salt line.
We can look at Puxnelia rariflorens, which is a true inland saline specialist. This is New Zealand's smallest saltgrass. If you were to group all of the patches of ground that Puxnelia rariflorens covers across inland Central Otago on its favoured salt pan site, we're only talking about several square metres, possibly the size of a dining room. What we have here is this bright green sort of balloon-shaped leaf called Goodenia radicans, or remu remu, or sea star, and it's a species that is also found very commonly on the Dunedin coastline as well. So here we are, quite a few K inland, and we find it in this northern part of the Patearoa Kiwi2 block. A lot of the inland saline plant species do have overlap with the coast, so there's a big connection between coastal flora and inland. I guess one of the most obvious mechanisms that connect these different types of veg communities is the seabirds that obviously interchange and travel in from coast into Central Otago. Did they bring the seeds on their feet? Are they in their faeces? Are they just sitting underneath all those layers of feathers, so when they preen, the seeds fall out? Who knows? But we do know that the seabird community was far greater and far more diverse than what we've got left now, and they would have had a profound influence across all of New Zealand, not just the coast.
The important thing is that it's bare ground, so you don't have any grass or whatever, and those things are very temporary. You get a bit of a landslide, a bit of erosion or something like that, opens up the bare ground, the clay redeposits with the rain, and so you get the salt, and eventually the weeds will come in. And what the ecosystem depended on historically, but before humans, was that there would be another erosion spot nearby, another hectare somewhere. The plants would move from one place to another. Now, with agricultural development, we don't have the opportunity for creation of bare ground anymore. With clover and ryegrass or whatever, especially with irrigation, there's a lot more water around, and so there's a lot more vegetation. And so spots like this are relatively unusual.
Bare ground is generally, over geological time at least, a temporary feature, also within human timescales. They will eventually close over through natural successional processes, with or without weeds. And so there needs to be a maintenance regime that keeps disturbance at the heart of management actions if you're wanting to retain the distinct features of bare ground. So in practice, what it doesn't mean is putting up a fence and walking away and doing nothing with the site. That's been a past era for these places. What it does mean is arriving at a middle ground that's acceptable to both the landowner and the conservation community over a disturbance regime that does continue to turn over the surface. So this QE2 covenant is one of a few that allows stock grazing throughout the year, and that's on an arrangement that's made between the field rep and the landowners, and so there's low-level sheep grazing carried out. For me, we're not just learning about saline ecosystems here, we're learning about much bigger processes that maintain and sustain how people live beside nature, and you can still have production and commercial activities beside nature. And the nature part of it, I feel, is really important because of the balancing effect that it gives to the environment, the longevity it gives to the environment compared to human sort of boom and bust systems. And also they are places where people can come and either be proud of this part of their land or just be very happy to be amongst sort of resident species that are, a very distinct part of New Zealand's natural heritage.